everyone? Welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and another episode of Cash or Trash. And as always, I got my man Marcus Circumstances here with me. What's going on, sir?
Good to be here for another episode of one of the best shows on comic book YouTube.
Well, that's because you're here. That's because you're here. So
I do what I can.
That's this is our show where we look at the hot comics of this past week and make predictions sure to go wrong for whether or not you should be buying it now or being patient. We had a ton of people in here tailgating, or well, I don't know about a ton of people, but a ton of tailgate comments. So we're gonna go through those real quick. We had my man GTK who was here at 8 o'clock this morning. And he probably was here yesterday when I first posted it, but it probably cut those off. But he was here at 8 and at noon and 4 o'clock. Man, MF Comic Villain was here. The villain was here. John Stout was here. He was bouncing back and forth. Man, John's Comic for Kids and the Meh Report. We haven't even gotten as much Meh. Really has not been able to make this show as much, so we haven't gotten as much Meh lately. Deep House is in the house, or was at least right before we started. Nerdy Geek was in here early. Like good investments or poor choices. Whole lot of the latter. That's probably the story of my life. Is the whole lot of the latter, the poor choices. So comic books notwithstanding. So let's see who else in here. Some circumstances guy. I don't know. Like the stream, I tell you. Gordon is in the house. What is going on, Gordon? Jeff Schreier, what is happening? Good evening to you. Any comics in review? You don't know that guy, do you?
That's my guy. My comic book dad tomorrow night.
We got Deep House in here. Dave Mares is in the house. And he who remains all showing up. Appreciate you all for hanging out with us tonight and listen to us ramble about the hot comics of this week. So as always, this is the show I do. I do the companion to my Saturday show where we look back at hot comics from 6 months ago and see how they're doing in the market. This is where we make predictions. And as always, I make you guys sit through this because it might be somebody new how we make our prediction and what our categories are. So as always, we throw them in the categories. We got our straight cash, homie. Books we expect to continue to go up in value. You buying it now, you're still getting in on the ground floor. This book is going to be huge. We don't predict that very often, but occasionally we have something. Usually it's more of a long term and not like the 6 month thing. We got our worth it. These are books probably priced about right. You might not make a lot of money if you buy in, but you're probably not going to lose any. We got the flip side of that coin. We got the I'll be backs. Book's not way overpriced. If you buy in, it's really not going to hurt that much. But if you're patient, you can probably find a little better deal. We got our It's a Trash. These are books that are going to drop 30, 40, 50%. They just aren't worth what they're going for right now. Whatever is prompting them into people's minds, into the market, is not sustainable and not going to last. And then we got our dumpster fires, books that are just fundamentally not worth what they're going for right now. So those are our main categories. Occasionally we'll throw in something else as we talk about these books. Kenneth Bird is here. What is going on, Kenneth? How are you, sir? Price says my books have dropped. Yeah, that's everybody's books over the last couple of years. They just keep going. Every time I do the update value, it's just like, so, it's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Good news is it's a buyer's market.
That is right. It is a buyer's market for sure right now. So let's dig into this list and see what we think about these books from this hot books from last week. First up, we had 2 option books this week. First up, we have Knights #1 from 2023. This book from Image is basically reports it's going to be turned into an animated series for Netflix. Raw copies 10 all the way up to 35. I look, most of the sales are more like 10 to 20, but there are a couple sales in that 20 to 35 kind of range. Your thoughts on this one, Marcus?
I like the concept of the book. It's actually really interesting. And so I think it would be cool to see it on the screen somewhere. But obviously, it's an I'll be back. If it's just now getting optioned, it's years away from actually being something on the screen, actually seeing a trailer, which is what will boost the value of the book at some point. So it's only going, 10 to 35, which isn't that much money, but it will 1,000% crater to a $5 book at some point here soon.
Yeah. I mean, if you're buying in on the 10 to 15 side of things, you're probably not, you're not doing too bad. But yeah, if you're pushing over $20 for this book, it's definitely a book that you should be patient on and come back to. Typically, these animated series don't even move the books that as much as like a live action thing does. And if it's an animated series, like I said, it's gonna be a while. It takes them a while to animate these kind of things and get a project out there. Just going when I heard Knights, I thought it was a Sega video game. No, not that game, not that game, sir. Then I mean, there are some great reads. It's fun, but then we're gonna have exactly. And her Knights was a good read. Probably wait for a trade. I don't know if there's a trade out to start in 2023. I would guess there's a trade out by now, but I don't know. I would assume so. All right, next we got Basketful of Heads. This is Joe Hill, DC comic. Supposedly there's a movie coming related to this with Natasha Lyonne attached in some way, shape, or form. 10 to 15 here, so a little bit more within the low end on terms of raw copies. 9.8, 50 to 60. Your thoughts?
Joe Hill, son of Stephen King, but of course he
correct.
changed his name so that he wouldn't get the nepotism credit, which I think is pretty cool. So, but that does give a little weight as the son of one of the great Stephen King. Some of the homies were talking about this book recently, saying it was a pretty good read. I've never actually read it or heard of it myself, but I did read Joe Hill's Reign, which I thought was pretty good from Image Comics. So, and it looks like a dope cover. I'm interested in it. As far as jumping out and getting the book now, this is borderline worth it because it's so cheap, but I'm still going to go, I'll be back.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if it ever truly becomes something. It's a long way from actually being something. I would still put it as an I'll be back. No reason to chase. I remember there was some buzz when this book first came out, but then it just kind of disappeared, and I hadn't heard of it till this. So for years.
Dave Ayers.
Look at him. Just look at him. I mean,
just look at him.
I will also say that, like, you don't want to, if you're trying to avoid the nepotism thing, maybe and you want to be a writer, maybe don't just write horror just like your dad. I don't know.
I mean, it seems like he's pretty good at it, so maybe
he is. I think he is pretty good at it, but it's just kind of funny. Like, you're trying to avoid that, and you're like, I'm going to go right into the genre he does. I guess he does comic. He's done some comics instead of just novels. But all right, next we got Mark Spears on the list again. As always, we got Gunslinger Spawn number 18 from 2023. So this is kind of an earlier Mark Spears cover. 15 to 30, 9.8 for 80. Your thoughts?
It's been interesting as we slowly see some of the older Mark Spears covers pop up on the list because people are slowly, hey, that cover that came back, that's this new hot guy, Mark Spears. And so they're running backwards and getting these books. It's interesting to see this phenomenon continue to grow. I mean, would you say it's still growing?
I mean, it's still going. It's still, I mean, people are still jumping on this Mark Spears bandwagon. People are looking for his covers. I will stand by, there's no artist that every cover is actually worth something. No artist does that. People seem to be trying to make that with him. But it is. I think this is probably an I'll be back. I think this is not necessarily one that like stands out, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I've been wrong everything. I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to Mark Spears. So we had Christina hop in here. What's going on, Christina?
I would say I'll be back as well. That would be my answer. But this is a really dope Violator cover, and I'm happy to own it in my collection.
Yeah, never said anything about older Mark Spears. Like, no. Got Lisa in the house. Spears bundle for 17K. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Berdazzle, what is going on? Hello. Lady Fantastic, what is going on, Carolyn? Appreciate you stopping in here. Let's see, anybody else? The Grizz MD, what is happening? So, a lot of people hanging out with us tonight. Appreciate it. All right, next. We got a little J. Scott Campbell, Magic #1, the second print, 1 in 25, going for 55. 1 in 25 going for 55. You tell me what happens when we get a 1 in 25 going for 55, Marcus. What does that mean?
That's not enough of a boost over the we want more than double ratio, so it's definitely going to come cratering down. So this would be I'll be back to trap territory.
Yes, that is pretty much the standard. I mean, I guess the background makes this a little bit interesting compared to just the regular J. Scott Campbell cover for this. But yeah, no, this is a trap. It's a total trap. Let's see.
She's pretty cool on Marvel Rivals, though.
Yeah, I think she's a fairly popular character on there for sure. So, too similar to the other colors. Background not cool enough. I would agree with that for sure.
Very true.
They went 80 for this at their store. Oof. Yeah, I would want to see what the print number is, but I mean it's the second print 1 in 25, so it's going to be lower, but still the fact that it hasn't gotten past double ratio is not a good sign. All right, next we got Geiger number 10. This is also a second print, first cover of Glowing Woman. Okay, this is your wheelhouse, my friend. $10 to $20 for this first Glowing Woman. What do we got? What do we got going on here?
Now, obviously, this isn't I'll be back, guys. It's going for 10 to 20. It's not going to maintain that value. The hype around this character is going to die down for sure. But down the road, here 6 months from now, or maybe longer, if you could snag this book for $5 or less, I would definitely add it to the collection. Because I think that, Ghost, it's dumb to spec on modern books, but if you're gonna spec on modern books, spec on Ghost Machine. All right. So, but definitely I'll be back.
Yeah, I know you're big on this Geiger universe. I've never really dove in, so I will cede to your expertise on this one. So
could I love a glowing woman?
I think Lady Fantastic likes this particular cover. Reminds me a little bit of Valkyrie. Yeah, a little bit of a Valkyrie in that kind of design. I can see that. Could I love a glowing woman? I don't know.
That's a good question.
So not sure. Likes Geiger. Not sure about this. Yeah, I mean, not every character on Geiger is going to be a big deal. And so far, even most of those books have some value, but not necessarily a lot. So yeah, I think being patient on anything Geiger, just kind of let this continue to grow and play out is probably the way to go.
This is the phenomenon that is still building. So yeah, don't buy any of the the high.
Yeah, don't pay premiums. Look for deals.
Yeah.
So. All right, next we got a little DC all-in special. The first appearance of the Absolute Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. $10 here, 9.8, 100. I mean, these seem to be fairly popular still. I know there's a lot of people that have turned off maybe of the Batman a little bit from the initial, but I think there's also a lot of people that are really enjoying these. This book is it's a new version of these three classic characters. $10 for raw copies, probably not crazy. 9.8 at 100 is probably a little high. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I remember when this first hit the list, when people realized that, hey, all this absolute stuff all originates here. It was a $5 book at that point. We're looking at a $10 book now, and I have to say $10 is not a bad price. So I'm going to call a rare worth it. Oh, looks like you went worth it as well. Or no,
I did on the raw side. I would debate it on the 9.8. I don't know if the 9.8 will hold that $100, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely on the raw side is what I'm speaking. I think $5 to $10 is a good price. I think this is something that might have legs down the road, but it's not something you're going to buy on the list. It will come down. I don't think it's something that's going to stay hot forever.
I mean, my hesitation here is like you look at any of the recent stuff, like where they've tried to do like new versions of stuff and like all those like future state books that aren't worth anything now, and obviously those were different characters and not new versions of the. But yeah, be hard pressed to see if this is really going to do much. So Wonder Woman starting to stall for me. I've enjoyed the Wonder Woman more than the Batman. I dropped the Batman already and didn't read the Superman. So 3/5, the only channel where I said book I was talking about. Let's see. Absolute Superman 1 year later, definitely Superman.
He Who Remains said what I was trying to say is Absolute Flash is on final order cutoff this week.
Yes, that is, today. So,
well, it's Monday.
Yeah. So, all right. Next, Moon Knight #1 hit the list because I put this as like, because the way they talked about everything is like post MCU crash, and people realizing, oh, that book probably is cheap now, and people have started buying it. It's basically what this amounts to. Is the post MCU crash is like, oh, it was everybody wanted it. It was MCU character came and went. Nobody wanted it. The book cratered, and now people are like, oh, that's actually a good book. It's probably worth a little more than what we've been paying for, or what it's being listed for. So raw copies at 50, 9.8, 270. Your thoughts?
I'm gonna agree with Caroline here. Cash, straight cash, homie. Get it on the low. This is way down from places that it's been. If you're into Moon Knight, this is a nice entry level point because the first appearance is a little more difficult to get. So this is a nice spot to jump in at $50, especially if it's a nice, clean, crispy looking copy. So I'm gonna go worth it
from where it was.
I'm gonna go worth it if you find a nice, clean copy at that price.
So he remains talking about, that there's not going to be a season 2 and wait for the prices to crash. They'd already crashed. They were down. This is a bit of a bounce back, but yeah.
Bummer there was no season 2. I know not everybody liked it, but I actually really liked the Moon Knight series.
I thought it was fun. Hey, Christopher, what's going on, sir? All right, next. This was kind of weird. We got a second week in a row, we got a Hulk versus Thing book hitting the list. This is Fantastic Four 112. This is not like their first fight or anything. This is just a classic Hulk versus Thing cover. I guess people are trying the spec because we're getting the Fantastic Four coming to the MCU, that we might get this, but there's been no indication of that. Right now, raw copies 35 to 180 for this Bronze Age classic FF cover, 7.5, 275, 92, 1,000. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's definitely an I'll be back, right? Now's not the time to go after Thing hype, especially with the Marvel Rivals hype and the Fantastic Four trailer hype. If you're looking for this kind of stuff, now's probably not the time to get it. But this is a 15-center book, so if you've been, same thing as always, you're going to jump in. You're going to get in where you can fit in on a book like this, but it's probably a little higher than it should be given the hype now. So I'll be back for sure.
Yeah, I think it's obviously it's a classic cover, classic book. If you want this book, you don't want it because there's potential spec or hype. This is when you're, like you said, you're just looking for the right deal at the right time. So, no, Carolyn, we're not going to call it trash. But
it's not
just because it's a good book doesn't mean it's a good time to buy it. So,
and the movie's not going to tank. Don't say that.
I hope not. Wait for the movie to tank before you buy. Oh man, facts, lady. All right, I'm hoping they do it right this time. We'll see. We'll see. Next, well, FF48, first appearance of Silver Surfer. This is a book that had come way down from what it once was. Obviously, there's a ton of hype right now around Surfer and Galactus and the Fantastic Four. The book is jumping back to some previous levels in value. They had a high raw sale recently of $1,501. I mean, obviously, raw sales are, several $100s all the way up to that $1,501. 8.0 sold for $3,100. Probably, I still put this as kind of worth it just because this is what this book is. I mean, there are some ups and downs, but I would have a hard time seeing this being much cheaper anytime soon. Your thoughts on this one?
Man, it's tough for me to have thoughts. This is definitely outside of my playground and a much bigger ballpark than I play in. So I'll say the same thing I always say. If you're looking for a book like this, you're not looking because of the hype that's going on right now. You've been looking. You have it worth it. I want to say I'll be back, but man, this could be the start of an era of Fantastic Four hype. Who knows? So, yeah, I say get in where you fit in. Because is that an answer? That's from
that's the answer. Is if you want this book, you're gonna find it. I mean, you're just gonna have to save and find the right deal. Next. A little Daredevil 227, second week in a row, start of the Born Again storyline that appears to have nothing to do with the actual storyline of the show, but the title of the show is Born Again, so people are chasing this book. 15 to 35, 9.8 to 225. That 9.8 even a week ago was 135, and the raw sales were averaging about 20. Yeah, we're in the trap range on those 9.8s. These show titles that have nothing to do with the actual storyline for the book. Even if they do have something to do with the storyline of the book, they never last. But what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I'm with you on it. It's a trap. The beginning of a storyline, like you said, is not really a driver. It's the specific things that are happening in the book that are going to matter. So, yeah, trap. I'm not sure why people are chasing this one. It is kind of a cool cover, though. You know, Frank Miller stuff, right? This
Yeah.
Frank.
Yeah, this is Frank Miller timeline for sure.
Yes. So, I mean, there's cool stuff about it, but yeah, I'll be back.
Yeah. But Mr. Raymond says, great read, buy it for that, but wait for sure. Yes. Yeah, pass for now. All right, next. Got a whole bunch of, apparently everybody was on the Punisher train this week related to the Daredevil Born Again. We got Punisher #1 from 1987, the first ongoing Punisher series. Raw copies jumping up to $40, 9.8, 150. There are no shortage of these out there, but what are your thoughts?
Man, what a cover, huh? That's a big gun. Jeez.
A bazooka. I feel like in that position that if he actually pulls the trigger on that and blows up that apartment, that he's going flying off that building.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't feel like that's a good spot for him, but that's just me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say I'll be back. $40 seems a bit high for a non-real first appearance. So, especially now with the hype with John Berthal coming back, which I am one of the people that is hype about it. It is a cool cover. I kind of want it, but definitely something I'm looking for 6 months from now.
Yeah, I agree completely. No reason to chase in the moment right now with any of the hype related to the show. Next, we got Amazing Spider-Man number 135, third appearance of the Punisher, which Tom and them were talking about like second full appearance. I'm like, I've never heard that before. I've always thought this is the third appearance. I don't know what that was about, but raw copies 20 to 100, 9.0, 630. I mean, we're talking third appearance of the Punisher. This is a great book. Your thoughts?
Man, I see. Yeah, I feel like I want to say I'll be back. I think chasing Punisher books is not something you're trying to do right now with the buzz going around it. So I do feel like it's something to wait on. But at the same time, that is a super dope looking cover. It is a 25 center, so it is kind of a get in where you fit in book as well. So I'm gonna say I'll be back, but it's also really a get in where you fit in.
Yeah. All right. Next.
You were worth it. You were worth it on that one.
I put worth it, but because it wasn't really up that much. But I'll be back. It's fine. I don't feel strongly either way on that particular one. Now this is a book nobody wants. It's not worth anything, so we could just skip it, right?
Send them to me. Contact me.
300 to 1600 on recent raw sales, 9.4, 39.60. This is a book that has come down some. Like everything else, everything's come down over the last couple of years compared to where they were a few years ago. But this is absolutely a get the price when you can get the price and find your copy book, no matter what's going on otherwise. It's the first appearance of Punisher. So anything to add to that?
Nope, you said it. Everything you said.
Yeah. Yeah, ASM is not cheap to get into.
That volume, yeah.
See this and it does nothing. I can get that. All right.
Wow, I would love to own this book.
Yeah, I mean, would I love to own this book? Yes, but it's for what it goes for. There's so many other books I would have instead. Like, it's just not high enough on the list that even if I was buying in this price range, it still would be way down my list. But
Jeff is first. It's first Punisher, Jeff.
Yes, I think he knows.
I mean, doesn't that make it special? Like,
I guess.
Was he trolling? Did I get successfully trolled right there?
Well, he does say LOL at the end there.
Yeah, fair.
So I'm thinking he's trolling you.
Got him.
All right, next we got 3 books related to the movie Marcus loves that came out last week. We got Hulk number 16 from 2009, first appearance of Red She-Hulk. Betty was back, so people are specking on this for the future. Okay, sure. 20 to 45, 9.8, 105. Obviously, and I'll be back. No reason to buy with the movie just coming out. But your thoughts? Anything to add to that?
Dumpster fire. Next one.
It's a dumpster fire. Tell us how you really feel, Marcus.
Next dumpster fire. Next book. This is not happening.
I think I'm
Red
building it up just because you love it so much.
Red Hulk barely happened in this movie. So how are we gonna get the Red She-Hulk? It doesn't quite make sense. She was like, okay, don't get me started.
All right, we'll move along. We'll move along. Well, last three books are all related to this movie that you love. So, Captain America: Sam Wilson, #3, first Joaquin Torres appearance. It's new Falcon. Rock copies 20, 9.840. Any thoughts here?
I'm part of me wants to say worth it, but I do think this movie is going to phase out and this book is going to come down. So even though even though $20 feels cheap to me, it'll probably come lower than that. And when it does come lower than that, I think it's worth stacking up on these for future possibilities. But yeah, I'll be back.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that these books are even still this low and the movie just came out is not a good sign for them sustaining any kind of value at all. It's just not.
Yeah.
They're super cheap right now compared to what they once were. You include this when you think about that first Sam as Cap. Like, they just didn't take any kind of real bump, and they're gonna come back down as we move away. They're not gonna go up as we move away from the movie. So, look at this guy coming in here, sliding in here late. What's going on, Tony? All right, last book. Truth, Red, White, and Black. First appearance of Isaiah Bradley. Also was in the movie. 15 to 30, 9.8, 115 to 120. Again, way down from what it once was when he appeared in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. My story is the same. Be patient on all of these related to the movie. Your thoughts?
I 1000% want this book. It will come into my collection. So honestly, if I were to find a nice clean copy for $15 on the low end of this price, I would buy it with no shame, with no hesitation. But it is an I'll be back. I think definitely the way the movie goes, there's no real reason to think that there's something future going on with Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah.
And so leaning on that for some future relevance is not clear to me. So I'll be back, but I want this book. I really do want this one.
That makes complete sense to me, and definitely the way it probably goes. Yeah, all the Cap books will definitely come down. Movie got mixed reviews. Yep, no reason to chase any of these books right now. And like I said, this is a series you buy to read, and not because you're trying to spec on Isaiah Bradley. So.
Yeah, he is, and this is a cool book. I have the trade for this, but I definitely want this book right here.
All right,
I'm gonna get it.
Yeah. All right, that is this week's list. So before we get out of here, I'm going to say I got a couple of them in here. So we got to shout out my members real quick before I forget. Shout my members out. Thank you to all of them for helping me with the channel, helping me pay for StreamYard, helping me keep this going. I appreciate it. Cheers to all of you via Tony Old Wolf there. Had to use Tony's picture for that because it's fun. Marcus, you got anything coming up on the channel we should talk about? You got some little show you do on Tuesdays, right?
Tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, we'll be back for another FOC and chill. I don't currently have a monologue this week, so maybe we'll actually talk about the FOC. I have no idea. And then, of course, Wednesday night, we have my comic book dad and his new comic book day show over at Indie Comics and Reviews. We always have a good time over there. And then, of course, back here on Monday night for another Cash and Trash. Crash or Trash.
There you go. Cash and. So, thank you, Carolyn. We appreciate it. So, yeah, I just got the usual stuff coming up. Hopefully, after tomorrow, we will be like a little more mobile. And so we'll start, being a little more and doing this. And maybe I'll come hang out, but you'll probably be talking about something controversial. I'll probably be like, no.
We got nothing so far. I need help, guys. Somebody do something crazy.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for hanging out in the chat. I want to thank Marcus, as always, for hanging out with me and doing this. And with that, we are going to get the heck out of here. We will catch you all. Oh, but past my outro. There it is. Catch y'all later. Bye.